first time, and we were second in the world and first in the nation. That's a tremendous accomplishment, and that wasn't just me saying it, that was other kind of national officials saying that too, so that really means a lot.
Their secret to success should be no surprise, coming from a school with UNLV's growing solar energy reputation.
Solar Decathlon is something that we found out about, one, just from our congressional delegation. They brought it to us and they said, this is something you guys should be going for. We also just knew about it because this is something we're doing a lot in solar energy and renewable energy.
While encouraging the collaborative and real-world experiences that lend so much relevance to a university education.
I guess for the people who say that it's impossible or they're not ready for their changes is that, I think the change has to happen. It has to happen now. It's not whether we can postpone it for 30 years, 50 years. It's an issue that's affecting every single person on this planet. It's a change that needs to happen.
The Solar Decathlon is an international collegiate competition to build and design an energy-efficient home.
Each team is building a house that saves energy, saves water, uses solar energy, and just makes it the most sustainable house as possible.
So we're designing and innovating and bringing in technology to build homes that are able to function on either off-grid or heavily reliant on renewable solar energy.
Desert Bloom is an energy-neutral or autonomous home that will thrive in the harsh Mojave Desert climate and operate independent of all public utility services. It combines new and emerging off-shelf renewable energy systems, technologies, products, and appliances that promote sustainability.
In my School of Architecture, we are very proud to run the Design and Build Lab, which allows students to build something before they graduate hands-on and to be involved in real projects. And that makes a lot of difference.
With us being in our own department, we're kind of in a little bubble where we're around like-minded individuals, and we all have individual ideas, but we all kind of have like the same stance on things. Whereas with architecture, we're looking at the aesthetics, we're looking at how does it make people feel. Whereas engineering, they're focusing on making things work, like how do we get to point A to point B? And these are things that we're going to have to deal with in the real world once we get in the job force, because engineers, civil engineers, architects, we're all going to be working together. So I feel like this is a good transition to the professional realm.
Something that's going to reflect on the real world is the butting heads between, not just between groups, because things have to fit a certain way, or different systems have different requirements just within engineering, but also kind of coordinating with architecture and the civil engineers and how certain things have to be laid out for them to make sense, from an engineer's perspective and from an architect's perspective.
So who is Desert Bloom for? A scientist, musician, student, filmmaker, artist, athlete, the next generation?
Our inspiration was our target market, actually, which in this case is returning veterans. There are many veterans in our community, particularly from the Afghanistan and Iraq conflicts, and there are a whole host of challenges that this community is dealing with. Everything from PTSD to higher incidence of suicide and many other social challenges. We realized that there are opportunities for us to positively impact this community, and that's exactly where our focus has been, and that's what inspired the competition for us.
It's important that as a society we focus on the idea of designing for differing abilities, because we all have differing abilities. There is no true generic or true normal as far as an individual goes. And if we really are following the practice of how do we design, how do we affect our lives, then we need to start looking at how we impact how we can function. So we shouldn't have to adapt to our environments, but our environment should be able to adapt to us.
This house is designed to provide a sense of security for the veteran, while at the same time giving them the openness of a typical residence.
The landscape is very important because that's what the inhabitant is going to see before they enter. Not only that, but it's also going to be determining their views when they're looking out through the windows, and it's also going to determine what they're looking at when they're in the courtyard. So it's the aesthetic aspect is very important.
This idea of openness, of visibility, of connecting with nature, which a lot of our plants have kind of been drawn from this idea of biophilia and that connection to nature and the way that it directly alleviates stress, it directly reduces anxiety and anger. So bringing plants into the home, we've got the living green wall in there, and then a lot of grasses and a lot of plants that'll bring movement outside of the home, all easily viewable because you've got this big glass open courtyard in the middle. And the grasses actually have it's like when they move with the wind, it's called non-rhythmic movement. And that's like kind of like when you hear like rain falling on the roof, you know, that it can actually kind of like lull you into calmness. So it kind of has the same effect. And then using those ideas, these ideas of design, and then working closely with engineering, closely with landscape architecture, to really kind of flush these ideas out into a directly applicable design that caters to all of these needs while still being sustainable and still bringing the best type of environment into the home.
In terms of solar, it's a solar collector, so what that does is it captures the heat energy from the sun, and we use that to heat up water as opposed to using a gas or electric boiler.
One of the cool innovations is a solar thermal box. So basically, when you have a whole mechanical room with all the valves and gadgets spread out on like the wall with the plumbing, we're going to put all of those valves and tanks and little components into a box that's going to stick to the solar thermal tank. So that's one of the innovative features we have. And that way, this kind of box can be transportable and put into any living space that is particularly small. That way, it makes it easier for the user.
We're kind of coming at it from all these different angles with the sole goal of making lives better for this specific person.
Providing this type of design to veterans is extremely important.